Welcome back to the video diaries, or more to the point, Michael's thoughts on life and equine medicine, veterinary management of the sport horses. There's something that sort of spurred me back on to get in front of the camera again. In the last few days, I've seen an image doing the rounds from another equine vet in the UK regarding hyperthermia of equine tendons. I probably want to disagree with it a little bit. I see a wide variety of horses, from pleasure horses through to eventers, show jumpers and dressage horses, and large portion of race horses. So in the racing industry, superficial digital flexor tendon injury, which is the image shown on the screen of this snapshot from the equine clinic, is the most common cause of injury, of tendon injury in the racehorse. Now, when we start then looking at the performance industry, so let's break down where we see tendon and ligament injuries and what type of tendon and ligament injuries we see. So we'll start with the eventers. They're probably most similar to the galloping horses, the race horses. So they do speed work, they're galloping. Their most common injury is superficial digital flexor tendon. Then you move on to the show jumpers. Now, a superficial digital flexor tendon injury in a show jumper, in my experience, is very rare. Suspensory ligament injury is a bigger problem. Proximal suspensories, both in front and behind, is a big problem. Deep digital flexor tendon injuries in the cannon bone region where we bandage, I've probably seen one or two of those in 3 or 4 years in the show jumpers. Then we move on to the show jumpers do get deep digital flexor tendon lesions, but they're in the foot, more likely as a pass over the navicular bone, or they attach to the pedal bone. So they're not affected by bandaging. That's the genetics of the horse. We can't change the design. So then we move on to your dressage horses. So do we see superficial digital flexor tendon injuries in dressage horses? The odd time. I've known of reports of horses in the area that have had them, but I would rarely see it, to be honest. We'd see suspensory ligament injuries, mostly in the hind legs, causing lameness, which often is interesting in the fact that suspensory ligament injuries in the forelimb tend not to cause lameness unless it's a proximal suspensory, to confuse the situation. But then you move on to your hind limbs. They will cause lameness. They're often quite sore, 2 to 3 out of 5 limb, with swelling localized and pain on palpation. So superficial digital flexor tendon injuries are rare. Now, so then we get back to the bandaging. So can bandaging cause a tendon ligament injury? Well, I think in theory, yes, but I think in practice, no. I'm going to be honest, I'm going to put it out there. No, I don't think in general equine work, even in high level, we've got clients that are Grand Prix dressage riders, 4-star eventers, World Cup show jumpers. We don't say that. We don't see it occurring. So which sport mostly use bandages? Mostly the dressage industry. Show jumpers tend to use boots. Eventers use boots as well. Does bandaging of a leg specifically potentially cause a tendon ligament injury? I disagree. I just don't think we see it in clinical practice. I think in the lab you can recreate that, and I don't doubt about it. But you've also got to come back and think about tendons and ligaments. They reach maturity at 18 months of age. So once you buy that 2-year-old, they're already old. They're starting to get old. They're starting to degenerate and build up micro tears. When you get when you get damage to a tendon or ligament injury, it's a cumulative build-up of damage. Now, we say in the racing industry, speed kills, and by that we mean the faster a horse can go, the more load it places on the tendon. So you've got a galloping racehorse. They're working at 99.9% capacity of their tendon, and therefore there's little room for spare capacity. A dressage horse, it won't be working near that. There's no way it'll be working near that because it's not going at much speed and it's not as much weight on it. Your eventers, yes, galloping, speed. Speed adds weight and force to those tendon and ligaments. So I think we have to think more, instead of simplifying it and saying, oh, bandaging's bad. No, it could potentially be bad if you're left on for excessive periods of time and you really heat the tendons up and it's 42 degrees outside and you whack a set of bandages on, leave them on for 4 hours. Terrible, 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 terrible idea. But in the general population, I don't think it causes a problem. I think our workload causes a problem, how much work we do. So you're galloping eventers. Well, even racehorses. Racehorses and eventers are classified together because they both do speed work, and they have to do speed work and endurance work. So if you look at your racehorse population, horses that run over distance, so Melbourne Cup horses, steeplechasers, eventers that run for 12 minutes, they're the ones that are most likely to build up accumulative damage that will cause a tendon and ligament injury. You look at your dressage horses. If you're constantly training 6 days a week for a horse to sit on its hind end and take all its weight with its hind end, it's not designed for that. It's designed to take 60% in the front end, 40% in the back end. When we train them, we ask them to shift that weight balance to the back. So we put more pressure on it. So if you're doing it every day, 6 days a week, 365 or 52 weeks of the year, then yes, you can potential to cause those problems. So I think I want people to start thinking about tendon and ligament injuries as a cumulative damage scenario, rather than thinking about it as I'm bandaging it and it's causing heat and, what's the most breathable boots. I think that's oversimplifying it, really do. And I think people need to just take a step back, manage your workload, don't overdo it, and balance it, and it's the same, even simple things like we find with the racehorses, we've started using high-speed treadmills, and even some of my eventing clients have got a high-speed treadmill. I can tell you now, the injury rate with using them to gain a lot of fitness has decreased significantly. We've halved, in some of my biggest racehorse stables, we've halved the number of tendon and ligament injuries we've had. We've reduced our orthopedic surgery requirements by somewhere in the region of 60 to 70%. Now, that's just a colossal amount by changing training. Same with the eventers. It's uncommon for a horse to do a superficial digital flexor tendon. It really is if it's trained and managed properly. So I just want people to simplify. It's not as simple as a thing. It's something that sort of probably got under my skin. I see it buzzed around the internet. Everyone's sharing it. Oh, look, you overheating, and people like to get on the bandwagon about this. So I'm just saying it's not as simple as we think it is. I think we need to step back and say, yes, it potentially could be part of the problem, but I can tell you a bigger part of the problem is workload. Surface, what surface are we working them on? How much work are we doing? What are we expecting of them? And thinking about it, those 14, 15, 16-year-old performance horses that are competing at the high level, they're high risk category. Why? Because they reach maturity at 18 months of age. They've got tendons that are old people. They're really old people. They've got cumulative damage. So you need to stop that. So I apologize for this, but it just sort of got under my skin. I really felt I needed to say something about it. I think it's something that needs to be answered and we need to deal with it in a rational manner. So anyway, I'll be back again soon. Cheers. Bye.